I wanted to start off with the sad news about John Watson's passing. What are your memories of him, Brendan? And there was a time when you were at Liverpool where he came out to defend you. I don't know if you remember that at all, but he was very defensive of you at one point as well.
It's always nice. Now, listen, it's obviously condolences to the family. I think John, obviously, we all grew up, famous with the cult and everything else. But I really, when I first moved into management at Watford, John knew my assistant manager very well, Dean Austin, and through that connection, we were able to meet and have contact. And he was just very, very supportive of a young manager making his way in the game, and I was always grateful for that, his support. And but his knowledge of football was incredible, and grew up listening to him and seeing him. So yeah, obviously sad. I wasn't aware he was ill or close to death. So it was it's a sad morning when we seen the headline.
Thank you, Ren. Moving on to this weekend, any team news in terms of new injuries to the team after United?
No, we're obviously starting to get a lot of our players back. We have to see how James Maddison is. James is still nursing a knee issue, so yeah, we just have to assess that tomorrow after training.
And Yuri Tillmans, is he coming back to full fitness after being on the bench last week against United?
Yeah, it's he's trained very, very well, and he's a very good option for us.
And just finally, in terms of players, Ryan Bertrand, how's his recovery coming?
Yeah, he's still back in training now with the squad. Still, obviously, will be a bit off it in terms of match fitness and whatnot, but still available to train.
Just looking at Arsenal, you played them the second game of the season. I wonder, after that result, did you expect them to go on the run that they have this season?
Well, I think they've had a fantastic season up until now. I think you sensed right at the very beginning of the season when we played, they'd signed the two players that were sort of a game changer for them in terms of mentality. When you got the likes of Kieran Tierney on the bench, who's an outstanding player, and because of Zinchenko playing, and then it really shows you the quality of the squad that they had. But I think Zinchenko and Jesus coming in really would have helped in giving that mindset. Saliba coming in at the back, and obviously the other players then improving. So no, I think that they played very well on that day. Whenever we got close to them, we made mistakes which gave them a cushion in the game. But you could see in that early part of the season that there was a good feeling around the place, and that's continued through the season. I think Mikel's done a fantastic job with them, and okay, there's still a long way to go. It's 15 games to go, but they've had a very, very good season so far.
I wonder, in terms of the title race, do you think they will do it? Is it too early to tell?
It's so early. You get 15 games to go. I think the problem now is because of the media speculation around everything. It's, from 15, 20 games out, you're talking about winning the league. It's so long, such a long way to go. But they're certainly going to be up there competing and challenging, that's for sure. And like I say, they'll see with 5 games to go where they're at.
Away from the football field, Brendan, if you don't mind, I wanted to ask you about the government announcing their plans today for the independent regulator. First of all, what are your thoughts on it in general?
Well, I think there's an opportunity there, obviously, for all clubs to digest what comes out. I think what's always key is the protection of the game in this country, and we get so many strong aspects to the British game, which is respected worldwide. And I think for us all, we're all custodians for the clubs that we work in, and obviously it's the most competitive league in the world. The money now in the Premier League is absolutely huge, but it's absolutely critical that we can protect the culture and the history of football in this country, and not just in the Premier League, but down through all levels. We've seen some clubs sadly go out of business, and that should never, you would hope, to not happen in this country. Some famous clubs, So yeah, I think there's an opportunity to digest everything, but obviously, ultimately, it's what's going to give the supporters that reassurance that their club is in good hands and that their leagues are in good hands, and we have to respect that.
And some of the aspects of giving fans a bit more power and stronger ownership tests in terms of clubs, and as you said, a bit more protection over clubs outside of the Premier League as well across the EFL. So I suppose, in essence, do you think it is a good idea? Do you think it could and will work?
Well, like we say, it's just going to be time. You also have to respect that you're going to, like we've seen over the years now, we have owners that are coming into clubs with huge and massive amount of money that will have a certain way of which they want to run their club and do their business. That is what has given them great success and wealth in their lives. But I'm sure they will respect that. No, it's not just a business for football clubs. It's people's lives and supporters who maybe have been with clubs from when they were in the lower levels and have come through into the Premier Leagues. But as I said, it's not just about the Premier League. This is about clubs right the way through the pyramid here in this country. So we have to ensure that that's protected, whilst giving all clubs the chance to grow and develop and evolve. So time will tell, and let's see what and how that evolves over the coming months.
Brian,
Hi.
had a few days to digest the Manchester United performance. What did you like and what didn't you like?
Well, it was an easy game to dissect and digest. I think first half we did very well. We got punished for a mistake, but overall we could have been ahead in the game. Second half we gave away 2 quick goals, and then the game got away from us from that, and then we deserved to lose by the end. So, but I think the first half, along with how we've been over the last numbers of weeks, gives us great encouragement, and we can analyse the second half performance, which we've done, areas that we can be better in, and look to bring that into our next game.
Arsenal had a bit of a 6-goal thriller last weekend. With so many good attacking players on both sides this weekend, are you expecting a very open, very expansive game? Does that suit you?
Well, I think both teams want to play. That's the identity and philosophy of both Mikel and myself. We want to create goals and score goals. I think we've shown that in our time here. But of course, you have to be mindful of the quality that they have. So like in all the big games against the top teams, you have to defend well. You have to be strong. You have to do all the basics of the game well. You've got to track runners. You have to be competitive, and then you hope then in your football and believe in your football that you can create and score goals. And I think we've done that. So it should be a fantastic football game.
We just interviewed Tete, who seems in good spirits. He was saying that prior to his debut, he reckoned he'd had 3 training sessions and maybe 1 English lesson tops. I just wonder how impressed you've been, still at such a young age, coming in and making the impression he has on and off the field.
Yeah, he's a great young guy. He's settled in very well. He's shown he's not frightened to do the work on and off the pitch. Very professional, very clear on what he wants to achieve, and like I said, yeah, he comes in and works very hard. He's adapting very, very well.
Tete's obviously won things in other countries. I just wondered, you mentioned to Dan about how Arsenal recruited proven winners earlier in the season. I remember asking you before you played Arsenal how that would change the dynamic there. For you, when you do bring in proven champions from other leagues or previous times in their history, what does that do to the dressing room, not just on the pitch, but actually culturally, sort of off it, when you've got absolute proven winners in your ranks?
Yeah, it's so important because they become great role models for your other players. I've got absolutely no doubt that Arsenal had top class players there, but when you bring in Jesus, and it's no coincidence that by him coming in and probably demonstrating how he works every day, the intensity of how he works, I'm pretty sure Eddie Nketiah, who's a fantastic young player, will have seen what it takes to be a top player. And then when his chance comes, and has come, he's then, no coincidence, his intensity is greater, he's working harder, and I'm pretty sure that will be from someone, and seeing a top class player operate every day. So I just think that for when you bring in that mindset and that mentality, especially if you've got young players that can be influenced, then they always will hopefully follow the top players and their mentalities. And when you can do that, and when you have that, then of course it's a great ingredient to succeed.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Cheers.
Hi, Brendan.
Okay, yeah, good.
How is Johnny Evans doing in his recovery, and do you have a kind of time scale at the moment as to when he may be back?
No timeline as of yet. We'll see where he's at tomorrow. Hasn't been with the group this week, so we're hoping that he can join in at some part next week. So that's as detailed as it can be.
Good stuff. Other than Johnny and James Justin, I think everyone else in your senior squad is fit again at the moment. I wonder how pleased you are with that and the options that now that provides you when you're selecting not just the 11 but your matchday squad, substitutions and everything that goes with that.
Yeah, it's great to have that and those possibilities in games. I think that like Luke Thomas, who's been brilliant for me in my time here, wasn't on the bench last week against Manchester United, but knows how important he is. But it just raises the level of training, the competition, people fighting to play. We've got obviously some players coming back they're fit, but they're not match fit. So it's now having to balance trying to get them some game time to get them up to speed. But having the availability of the players has been great.
When you're in game, and I know you've spoken about before, maybe some of the bigger clubs, and they look around at their bench and they have hundreds of millions of pounds worth of players on there. And I know you've spoken about substitutions before and going to 5 subs and those kind of things for that reason. But when you turn around and you have a fully fit squad and you're able to pick the players that you think you'll need in that game, how much better as a coach and a manager is it in game when you have those kind of strengths on your bench?
Well, clearly it's a big advantage to have it. It just gives you the flexibility in the games. And like you see in the modern game, I think I mentioned it a few weeks back, the average number of changes within games in terms of systems and whatever else is like virtually 2 per game. Now when you look at the World Cup, it was the average changes of systems within a game was 3, just over 3. So it tells you that in order to do that, you need to have that flexibility to bring players off the bench as well as the players affecting it who are already on there. So that chance that opportunity that you can change the game by having players available that can come in and change the dynamics of it is very, very important. And to have the players fit and available now, that'll be our job to try and hopefully help them through to the end of the season, and that should give us really good problems to have as a manager.
You spoke last week about needing to defend better in transition after the Manchester United game by defending the centre of the pitch better when giving the ball away. And against Arsenal, how important will that be? Because they have a different style to Manchester United. So I wonder for you the kind of priority sense of that.
No, listen, I think our job and most teams' job is to always protect the middle of your organisation, always, either that's with the ball or defending against it. I think the 3 goals we can look at last week, and they were easily preventable. We make a mistake, we give the ball away, and we can easily, we're in possession, so that's something that can't happen. You give that against good teams, they can exploit that very quickly and score. The 2 other ones are positioning and tracking runners. So these are things. These are the basics of the game. And if you can get the basics right in any game, then it gives you a great opportunity to win. We've seen it in the Tottenham game, our last home game, where we were strong, we were aggressive, we closed the spaces, we were aggressive in our defending, and then that leads to us being aggressive in our attack. Same idea. Here, this is a team that's very, very good with the ball. You know, the positioning's good. Good players of a real high level technically, and then they get speed on the outside. So it's going to be a big challenge for us, but that's the challenge that we want. And it was similar to our last game, so at home. So we respect their qualities. We know we have qualities. We know we can score goals, but we have to defend collectively. And if you can do that in any game, especially against the big teams, then we always believe we have a chance of winning.